Greetings and God bless you. This is Dr. Dewan Jackson, and we are here on our show today, the Deborah's Voice Talk Show. We are so excited. Many of you are coming in. We want to invite you to come on in, come into the show today. Wherever you are, like this page and subscribe it. Wherever you are, begin to share with someone that the Deborah's Voice Show is on. We are live here on Facebook on Deborah's Voice Talk Show. And I am your host, Dr. Dewan Jackson. And we are elated to be here on today. As I told you, we were going to have some special guests, and we were going to have some awesome opportunities for you to hear some relationship tips. So we know that February is considered the month of love. So we're going to say love is in the air, right? Love is in the air. It is a wonderful experience to be able to connect with each and every one of you. And as you jump in and get ready for a phenomenal show, as you see, I have my wonderful husband with me on today, and we're going to be doing some awesome teaching and just talking, just sharing in the studio today to help couples. All right, so it's going to be a show about relationship tips. It's also going to be a show about dating tips, and we're also going to talk about marriage some. We're going to open you up and enlighten you so that you can have some understanding about marriage as well. So on today, I want to welcome to the show my very own husband, Apostle Alfred Jackson. All right, so you can send up some hearts and some likes, and I'm going to give him a moment just to greet you and say hello, and then we're going to be going right into our first topic for today. So just greet them today.
Hello, my name is Alfred Jackson. I thank God for being here with my wife, Apostle Dr. Dewan Jackson, here on the show, Deborah's Voice. And I'm excited, looking forward to what God is going to do and the release that He will give us that will help bring understanding, clarity, and empowerment to those who are watching, who are married, or those who desire to be married. So I'm truly excited, and I give God thanks.
Awesome. We thank you for being with us here on today, taking time out of your busy schedule, and we're looking forward to sharing our first tip. So what we're going to talk about now, we're going to talk about dating on today, right? We want to talk about some good dating tips, because a lot of times people are out there, they're single, they may meet somebody or want to meet somebody. So we want to give some dating tips today. I want you to think about, how we date today versus how we dated back then. All right. So if you're new and you're dating and you want to date somebody, a lot of times now we see that dating comes through technology or social media. So you have people who are reaching out, who are specifically walking online or searching online for, chat groups, dating sites. All of these things are active now versus in the time where we were dating, it was actually a live face-to-face date. And so now we're having, cyber dating. We're having people video dating, where they cook a meal on one side, the other person cooks a meal on the other side. They sit down and have a conversation together. So I want to talk about, just how these times have changed, and still ways that you can relate and connect and make sure that the person that you're getting connected to. What are some of the questions that you think you should ask when you're dating? Because of course, if you're not physically there and it's, through social media or technology, then what would be some of the questions that you would think that you would ask on a date? And I'm just going to ask you that today.
It's amazing that you bring up that question, because it really is different compared to the days and the times when we were getting together versus the future now. One of the things I think that's very important is to, first of all, hear me when I say this, be able, before you meet the person, to make sure you're praying about a person. I need to pray, because the first thing that's important is beginning to speak to God, communicate with God. God, give me somebody, not how they look, not what color they are, not how much money they just make, because many times people just, I want them to make this, I want her to make this, I want them to look like this. But create in your mind, God, let me talk to you. Give me somebody that I can connect with, that I can be with, and that I can love and that loves you and that can love me. You want to first create that begin to create an atmosphere where you're asking God these questions. Then when you begin to ask these questions, God will begin to put in your heart when you meet a person what you need to say, what you need to ask for. Because if you don't have, say, that father in your life or that mother in your life who can help groom you to teach you how to communicate, then how would you learn that? So many times, Apostle, people get together and they want to date somebody, but they don't have the right communication skills or know what to ask or what to say because they never searched within themselves concerning communication. So that communication piece is so important. So before you meet that person or you're looking to desire to date, it's okay. Not just to talk to God. Say if you don't have a person, your father in your life, talk to somebody that you trust. Talk to your man of God. Talk to your grandfather. Talk to your grandmother, your mother, to help teach you how to communicate, what to look for. And as you begin to talk, you'll know the right things to say. Sometimes when we meet people, if we've never communicated effectively, we can communicate the wrong things. And if you communicate the wrong things, you can meet the right person, but not know what to say. You can meet the right person, but you can turn them off because you can begin to have the wrong conversation. Just like you prepare for things and you think about sports. The better I prepare, the more I practice, the better I become. And I think it's the same thing with communication.
That's awesome. So I think that it's important, definitely, that we should be praying. And that's kind of going into our second section. But definitely, yes, we should be praying. We should make sure that we have things in alignment, that we put things together. We put things in alignment with our prayer time. But definitely you want to be able to write out some things, okay? I want you to make a list. You know what? This is what I specifically want. I want these characteristics. I want these traits. I want the person to have this quality. You know, I want them to have these morals, because many times we look at external things, right? A lot of times we look at the external, and really the external is not what's going to make the relationship, okay? Yes, you want the person to look nice or smell nice or be pretty or be handsome, but what's going to make the relationship is the moral factor, right? Their character. What's going to make the relationship, how they treat you, your trust, right? Being able to build trust and confidence and assurance. So we're going to need to make sure that this person is going to be trustworthy. We want to make sure that this person is in position, right, to be able to carry character, right? We want to make sure that their character is something that's solid, right? Yes, it may need to be built on even more, but they still need to have a solid character if they're going to connect with you. So you want to make sure who this person is, right? Don't just jump up and say, okay, I like him, or he's cute, or he's or she's cute, or, you know, and that's the way a lot of people end up, you know, connecting based on what it looks like. But I wanted to just talk about that because I know for our situation it was a little different, because it wasn't based on looks, it was based on our love and relationship for God, and God allowed us to get together. So I think that it's important when you have that mindset to know that, you know what, it's not just about how cute a person is. Yes, you want to have maybe something that will attract you, but that can't be the only thing, because if you only get attracted to a person based on their look, remember that look can change, especially for a woman. They can have a baby. For a male, you know, their hormones could change, their body shape changes, you know, so all of these things we have to remember that if we're talking about dating a person, especially if we want that relationship to become serious and we want that relationship to grow, then we're going to have to make sure that we understand about the character, right? So I want us to talk about the character. Talk about that.
Yes. When you're talking about dating, date with purpose. Don't date just to have fun, especially if you're older. Date with an agenda. Lord, I'm desiring to be married. Those who in ministry, those who have a mandate upon their life. So you just don't want to date just to be dating to meet people or just to go online. Date with a purpose and the understanding that I'm trying to connect with somebody for life. I'm trying to connect with somebody that will help fulfill the mandate, right, that God has put me in, that will help be a helpmeet to me. So this is why it's so important to be locked in, Apostle, to the things of God or have somebody to help groom you. So when you say tips, ask questions to different people. Get wisdom.
Right.
Seek wisdom. Talk to older people. Talk to people who have overcome some things. Remember, when you're dating or when you get in a relationship, it has its ups and downs. So you want to be aware of all things. The Bible says study to show yourself approved. You can study. Talk to other people. What should I do? What should I begin to ask for when it comes to that man? What am I looking for? Because many times men say, well, I want her to be like this. I want her to already have this. But what do you have to offer? There have to be qualities in you as a man, right?
Yes.
To understand I am the provider. So I can't go looking to date somebody if I'm not taking care of myself.
Right.
I got to be able to take care of that woman, take care of the dreams and the vision that God may want us to fulfill. She might want a house. She might have some things already. So I got to be able to have quality skills of my communication, have a good job, educated, or be a man of God to help make sure I'm being effective when I get this woman, that I'm not just abusing her or overtaking her based upon what my father said, but what the Father or the Lord or my spiritual father has taught me. I think that's the problem. Apostle, many people have found we try to date people or marry people based upon what we've seen.
Yes.
We can see relationships that are dysfunctional. We can see relationships so we don't realize maybe we don't have qualities that we think that we need to have. So go find somebody who can mentor you as a man or a woman to say, hey, look for this, do this, be able to love him regardless of what he looks like, because God may send you somebody who you need, not necessarily how fine he is.
That's so true. And listen, I have written my latest book, The Misconception of Love and Relationships.
Yes.
And I'm telling you, it's going to bless your life. I told you that we're promoting the book all month long, and we're talking about exactly what he's talking about, because sometimes we connect with people who we look at the external.
Yes.
I'm telling you, if you really want to have a real relationship, then you need to connect with somebody who is able to teach you and empower you and raise you and cause, connection and change to take place in you. And so I love what you just said. You said, get a mentor, get a book, learn about something. This is my latest book here that you're going to have an opportunity to order at the end of the broadcast. Yes. You're going to be able to order this book because it's going to help you. It's going to walk you through stages, right, of relationship. It's going to talk about love versus lust. It's going to talk about how do you know if a man is in love? How do you know if a woman loves you?
Wow.
It's going to talk about trust and confidence. It's going to talk about even marriage in itself. Whether you're single or married, I'm telling you, this book is fully loaded for you. And so we want to make sure that at the end of the broadcast, I'll tell you a little more about it. But you need somebody. You need someone who's gone and walked through the process to be able to share with you, details and what to do and what not to do, right? Yes, you can pray, but it's good to have a mentor. It's good to have somebody that you can go back to. It's good to have somebody that you can talk to and say, what about this aspect of the relationship? Okay. And then you want to be able to run it by, because some people, they may have certain situations. We have blended families today, right? Where many people who already have children, right? And then they're getting married to somebody who is not the father of their children, right? Or is not the mother of their children. So you have blended families. So you have people dating who already have, children in the middle of their situation, and then they're going to have to deal with that. They're going to have to connect. So you need to make sure you know what you want. Are you willing to accept one child, two children, no children? What are your actual, what's your list? Make sure you know that, because if you don't know, then you're just going to be open, and then maybe you start to care or like a person that maybe, is really doesn't have the moral qualifications that you thought they had. So that's why it's important that you find these things out, especially in the Christian world. I noticed that a lot of people will tend to start to date someone. They don't even know that they're saved, right? They don't even know that they, where they go to, what ministry they go to, who they're connected to. And so they're, wooing you along, and you've never even taken the time to really see the character of the person, see who they're connected to. Do they have a mentor? Do they have a spiritual mother or father? How is their relationship with God and their relationship with their ministry. You know, you want to know all of that when you're talking about dating somebody, because you don't know, right, what you're going to be getting into. You need to know this person thoroughly, right? Meet their family, right? I think this is a good one. Let's talk about this. Meet the family, because anytime that you're, you know, dating somebody over a period of time, you need to meet their family, okay? Why? Because for one, you need to know what kind of stock they came from. You need to, you know, meet their brothers, their sisters, their parents, you know, whoever that they allow you to meet, and then you want to talk to them, you know, to get to know, you know, that person's background, because at some point, whether they're going to be changed, at some point their background is going to show, right? It's going to come out in that relationship, where they're from, how they're breeded. It's going to come out in that relationship. So let's talk about the background and meeting of the families, because I think that's important with dating.
I think that's very important, and this is why it's so important to meet the family. Most of the time, the younger people, when they're dating, they'll hide the person from the parents. They'll hide the person from their family. And that's an error. You have to be open to learn. One thing I love about meeting Apostle, we knew each other a long time ago in school, but as we began to date, I met her mother and father, and I was kind of blown away because of the standard that they had in their life. Now, I come from a big family. I'm the baby of 9. But Apostle family was a little bit smaller. And so when I met her family and the structure that her mother and father was, it was totally different than what I was used to. So the number one thing I had to be able to do is be able to adapt and learn. So when I began to take her out, so where do you want to go? And she began to choose a place that was very elegant, that I wasn't used to. So I had to be open to see the quality. Men, don't be afraid to receive and learn something different when you have a person that God has given you that's full of quality. She began not to be a person of quality in the way she ate, but even how she began to respond to me. She used to ask me questions. What's your dreams? What's your vision? What's your goals? She was the very first woman to open up my heart. So understand this, women, when you're dating a man, right, don't just understand his pocket, but understand, move into a place of his heart. Ask him his ambitions, his goals, his dreams. And she began to unlock me to a place that I've never been unlocked before. So I had to be willing to learn and open myself to the degree, if that's what I really wanted, because she was quality, do I still want to pursue? And it's okay to come to that conclusion, Apostle. If you're dating somebody and you realize, you know what, I don't think I have that standard, then leave that person alone. But if you're trying to be better, and you want to pursue what's better for you, then you have to adapt. You have to be able to be taught again. You have to be able to open your heart, because there's things I did not learn. Here it is now from my home and my parents that I now have to ask God about, because now I'm dating a woman that's more caliber than I've dated before. And so this is why you got to educate yourself, empower yourself, and begin to get a mentor. Even ask God, teach me to be a better man, right? So I can be a more effective into the quality woman that you're trying to release into me. So you got to be open to learn.
That's awesome. That's awesome. And I think that's so important, because when you connect and you go and you see, you know, the background, or you see the way that person is raised, if you still want to pursue, you know, a relationship with them based on the caliber that they may be. Now, if they're a little lower, because sometimes, let's face it, everybody may not be, you know, in the same category. So you may be raised, you know, in an upper echelon, and then the other person may be raised more commonly or more inner city or whatever. You want to make sure that is this still a person that is willing to be groomed, that's willing to grow, that's willing to mature, that has dreams, that has goals, that has vision, right? So it doesn't mean that you just, you know, can cut that person completely off, but you want to make sure, you know, the caliber of the person, are they willing to mature? Because sometimes they may be a diamond in the rough. You know, they may just need more exposure. They may just need, you know, some level of teaching so that it will help blossom them to who they really are. So I think that it's important that we have that understanding when it talks about, you know, dating somebody, because sometimes people say, well, if they don't make 6 figures, I don't want to talk to them. Or if they don't, you know, have a certain figure, I don't want to talk to them. Or if he don't have, you know, a particular thing, I don't, you know, we have a lot of criteria that can lock us out sometimes because of, you know, the way we view a thing. And so sometimes God will allow you to have an assignment. Let me put it that way. Right? And so I even talk about it in the book. Sometimes you have to birth that person out, right? Meaning that there may be some qualities that they have that are good, but then there may be other areas that you have to birth out those qualities through what? Preparation, right? And dating, because you want to make sure. We're talking about if you're going to date, you want it to become a lifelong commitment into marriage, right? You want it to be a lifelong partner, so you're going to have to go through, the process to recognize that they're not going to come with every single box checked. Okay, they're not going to come with every, you know how you say you're searching for a home and you got like 10 different things you want in your house. You may get 7 out of the 10. So you're not going to get every box checked when it comes to dating, but you need to find out of the boxes that are checked, are they enough quality that they will be in the positioning that you can work with so that you can advance together. All right. Awesome. So it's very important that we look at that, right? So men don't automatically say, well, I'm making 6 figures, she need to make 6 figures. Maybe she has the potential to make 6 figures, but maybe she's not been exposed to it, and so it may be up to you to pull that greatness out of her, right? Because the 6 figures could be in her, but maybe her circle has not put her in the space where she's been able to open and unlock her mind, right? So you can drop a seed in her, and anytime a man drops a seed, guess what's going to happen? It's going to flourish. So sometimes we can lock a woman out or lock a man out based on what we see now, right? So I want to emphasize that because a lot of times people do that. They say, well, she ain't in my caliber, or he not in my status, or he not, and we do it, like I said, based on separating people based on status, how much they make, how they look, or what they drive. And this is very important. We cannot say that we're going to date or not date based on those particular things. We want to make sure that their character is right. Want to make sure their morals are right. We want to make sure their upbringing, they have some goodness in them. Their heart is pure, right? You want that type of caliber of person to work with, right? You want to add to that?
Yes. You got me on fire. You got me stirred. I just want to say this to the men. I just want to be honest. I want to be tangible with you, what you just said. When God calls Adam to be in the garden, he had a place where he was accountable to the things that God told him. God said, name everything. Once he obeyed God and submitted himself to God, then God said, okay, because you obeyed me, because you begin to do what I told you to do, I will put you to sleep and give you what you need. So when he gave him Eve, Adam wasn't looking for her. See, God will bring what you need when you obey what God tell you to do. Yeah. So when Apostle Dewan just said that, stop looking at the woman as she's supposed to have the same amount of money. No, do what God tell you to do. Be effective, be obedient, be submissive, and he'll send you what you need. Yeah. Because when you understand that principle, you got to understand in your heart, God is not sending somebody in your life for you just to date. You got to understand he's sending you somebody to be your helpmeet or your helpmate. Yes. So when you look at dating, don't look at it just having fun to be having a girlfriend. Yes. No, I'm trying to get a wife. Yes. There it is. Come on. I'm trying to get a wife that adds value to who I am, and I bring value to who she is, because this will be the mother of my children. Yes. This will be the mother that helped give, not just the mother to my children, but she will be the mandate that will help me fulfill the mandate of God that works together. So your vision and your thought process have to change how you see her or how you see him. And this brings us to a place of maturity. So now I'm moving and dating with the purpose, not just with the flesh. Right. So it calls us to be more effective and be more in tune, and we'll know what God brings us, and knowing that he has brought this woman in my life to fulfill his greater purpose.
Right. So this is amazing. I pray that you're having as much fun as we are today. This is amazing. You have to think about how important this is, right? So he says something, date with a purpose. So you don't want to have, 10 different people you're dating. You want to date with a purpose. Yes. Identify the person that you want, in your life, and then begin to push that out. Have a purpose to say, I want this person to move into the potential of that person being my spouse, okay? And so you have a purpose of why you're dating, all right? And then you need to be prayerful, okay? You need to ask some questions, right? So be praying. Every day you need to be praying about this person. You need to be connecting with the person, right? And then you need to be asking them some questions. How many children do you want to have? Where do you want to live?
Now that's good.
Right? Do you want to live inner city or out? Do you want to live in a house or a townhouse, a condo or an apartment? Do you want to live on multiple acres of land or not? Just kind of talk. Share your heart. Share your dreams. Share your ambitions. Some people may be comfortable where they are, and you may be a go-getter to say, I want to make multi-millions, and maybe your spouse saying, no, I'm happy where we are. We're not trying, just let us be complacent. Right. This is good enough. So you need to ask a lot of questions about that person, not just where they are, but where they're going, right? Yes. Where they want to go, right? Good. Where they want to end up in life, right? And so, this is important, as you're dating, and then it's even important as you're in a marriage relationship, right? So prayer is very important for yourself, but then also it's important for those who are connecting in a long-term relationship.
Yes. I want to add this. Meditation is so powerful.
Yes.
Now, let me go back to myself. I want to put myself in this. When I was in the military, I dated older women. I dated a couple older women, and that wasn't it. It wasn't until I really got focused on the things of God. I said, Lord, I don't want, I'm tired of this way. I really got saved and committed, had a life-changing situation in my life. And I should sit up on a ship, on a forecastle. And in my imagination, in my mind, I would talk to God. I said, Lord, I want a wife that can love me, that I can love. I want to get married one time. I start speaking to God about it. In other words, the creativity and the desire of wanting a wife first came in my heart. And I began to imagine it in my mind. I gave it to God. I never went looking for her based upon what she looked like. I never went looking for her based upon what she made or what her body structure looked like. I gave it to God. And so as I begin to put her in my mind, God began to unfold it to her to be dreams. And I began to ponder on that. And I began to meditate upon that. And that's when he gave me my wife. This is so powerful. Stop looking with your eyes.
Yes. That's wonderful.
Stop looking with your eyes. Stop looking with your emotions. Stop looking with your feelings. Begin to imagine in your mind and let God download in you as you begin to dream and have a desire for that woman. Then when he brings her to you, he'll begin to teach you how to open up. Now you're in a relationship based on what God sent you because you're no longer looking for it. He sent you what you need. And this is my desire. Stop moving according to the flesh, but move according to the spirit of what you need. And I guarantee you, your day life would change, that you would now have that wife or that spouse that you're looking for.
Wow, this is amazing. I know that you're excited. I know you guys are getting so much. We're going to transition now, the latter part of the show. We're going to transition to those who are married, right?
Yes.
Because we talked to the singles first, because there's so many single people out there, so many people that want tips, right? But part two, this second part of the show is actually going to be talking about marriage, okay? So now we're going to be talking about marriage and what it is, right? And we're going to be talking about, how we should see marriage, right? In my book, again, I want you to order this book. Take a moment and order this book, right? Yes. I'm going to give you all the details. Awesome. You can inbox us, right? It's the misconceptions of love and relationship. Again, some of the topics are love versus lust. How do I know if a man loves me? Ooh. How do I know if a woman loves me? What steps do I need to take for marriage, right? It's going to talk about the phases of marriage, some of the phases that we're talking about now. The honeymoon stage is going to talk about that rough stage, that you go through where you hate each other. Wow. It's going to talk about that commitment stage, right, where you're soaring. It's going to talk about multiple different stages in marriage. So I want you to get this book. It's been recommended. People from all over have bought it, even overseas. People in Africa have bought it. People are excited about it. And I want you to get this book. Order it. It's only $15. And yes. It's going to change your life, right? It's going to be tips that you and your spouse can read. It's going to be tips that you can read if you're single or if you're dating. All right? So I just wanted to plug that one more time. Don't forget to order your book today.
Yes.
All right? So look, in marriage, right, we want to talk about some of the phases of marriage. Because when you first get married, most of the time you are excited, right? The first stage we talk about when it comes to marriage is honeymoon. So you're happy, she's happy, you're loving, everything is just peaches and cream. Everybody is excited. Why you look cute, you're my boo, you're my baby, you got all of this good language going on,
right.
You come home, you're just happy, you can't wait to get home, you're texting, you're calling, you are feeling amazing about the choice that you have made as a life partner. You're excited about that, and that stage normally can run, anywhere from 1 to 2 years. Most of the time it's that first year, 1 to 2 years, depending on how connected you all are. And so a lot of people they think that this is what marriage is. They think marriage is the honeymoon. They think marriage is gonna always be sweet, always gonna be good, always gonna be wonderful. No, it's like the fairy tale that they show you on the where the princess kisses the prince, and then they live happily ever after. Well, that's not always the case, right? That's not always the case. And so we need a part 2. Come on, we need to understand what happens after you kiss the bride. When the preacher says you may now kiss your bride, and you are officially Mr. and Mrs., right? We want to talk about that today, right? You are officially Mr. and Mrs. So now you have transitioned and you are married, right? So you got this honeymoon stage. So you're thinking this is what life is going to be like, right? You're thinking life is going to be sweet. There's going to be no issues, no troubles, no pain, no sorrow. You just like, I married the best person ever, and then all of a sudden something happens, right? Something happens, and it transitions you from now just, into a space of saying, I'm married, to now you transition and you start saying, oh, this is the realization stage, okay? So realization steps in. Now you realize that what? Oh my gosh, her breath stinks, his breath stinks. Wow. You realize, that they have issues. You realize that, maybe one, is leaving the toothpaste on the counter, or one squeezes from the top and one squeezes from the bottom. You start to see the flaws, the realization. You start to see the person that you marry. Let me tell you something. No matter how much you know a person when you date, you do not know that person until you live with them and marry them. Can I get an amen on that?
Amen.
Right?
Amen.
So no matter how much you think you know them, you love them, this is my sweetie pie, this is my honey, all of the, that's what we said back in the day. I don't know what you say now. So they have, all of the slangs and, my boo thing and all of this. But once you marry that person, you're getting ready to be exposed to realization. Yes. All right. So you're going to now have to deal with who they are. How many know you could put on the best and you can be the best at all times, but then there's a side of you that has not been exposed.
Right.
All right. Let's talk about it.
Dating, right? Dating moves you from excitement, and then marriage brings you into nakedness.
Yeah.
Nakedness. Because now you see one another nakedness. Mm-hmm. You see my flaws.
Right.
You see my weaknesses. You see her weaknesses.
Yes.
You see her flaws.
Yes.
Now, this is the place where you have to grow to look beyond each other's faults and begin to meet each other's needs. Yes. Because when you're dating, you can hide. But when you're married, you got to deal with the issues. You got to deal with the attitude. You got to deal with the real person. And this is where the Bible says this. Let me throw this out there. The Bible says, Christ, husband, love your wife, even as Christ has loved the church and given himself for it. Wow. So this is the place. Here it is, man. Now let me drop it. Where you have to become like Christ-like, that you got to give yourself to your wife. Mm-hmm. He said, husband loves your wife. Now, why would he say that? It's my responsibility, men, to love your wife. Because the seed you put in her is going to reproduce and get back to you. If you give a woman a seed, she's going to give you a baby. You got to hear me. So whatever I speak in her womb, whatever I speak in her spirit, is going to reproduce and come back to me.
Yes.
So you cannot, when your issues or your struggles begin to speak something contrary that makes her affected, but you're stupid, you're bald, you're getting on my nerve. No. You got to still empower her. You got to still encourage her. Because what you give her, she's going to give back to you.
Right.
So one of the main things you got to do now, besides speaking and giving yourself to her, here it is. She must become before your mama. Wow. She got to become before your daddy.
Wow.
She must be number one before your family.
Wow.
And many times we struggle because we marry that person, but our family still have too much influence over you.
Whoa.
No. Now she's my wife. She must become the number one person in my life that supersedes my parents and my family. I can no longer, go outside of her, but I must come to her because we're one. When I hurt her, I'm hurting me. Come on, y'all. So if I don't understand that concept, I'm already defeating myself.
Right.
So most people struggle, and you go tell your mama, he go tell his daddy, he go tell his mama, she go tell her daddy. You're fighting against one another,
yes.
And now your intimate business is getting to other people's heart,
right.
and other people's mouths,
right.
And you're getting warfare in your house besides yourself because people are speaking contrary to you and her being one.
Right. And
So
now,
okay,
that's
go ahead.
good. So you got to think about
Yes.
that when you're saying this. Very important, okay? Very, very important.
Woo, glory.
Don't spill all of your business to your family, okay? I know that, different, people do things different ways, but you need to make sure that you have one, maybe two people that you can go to for solid, sound advice.
Yes.
Let me tell you, your mom or your dad, they love you, so they're going to tell you, you know what, he's wrong. They, some parents may
yes.
be real about it, but a lot of times they're going to take your side, right? A lot of times they may not, give you the sound advice you need. Some parents will, but it's important that you don't put that seed against your spouse in your family, because once your family knows your business, then guess what happens? They're going to see him or her in a different light.
Yes.
So we have to be mature. That's why it's important that you find a person who is non-biased, right? Find a pastor, a mentor, a friend, somebody that is not going to take sides, but is going to tell you the truth. If you're wrong, you're wrong. Or if he's wrong, he's wrong. Or if she's wrong, she's wrong. So they will be able to step into a place, in an avenue of allowing people to understand and to comprehend what is happening in this particular situation, right? So as women, you cannot be running your mouth. Okay? You cannot always run your mouth. You have to be able to be wise.
Yes.
Okay? It says a wise woman builds her house and a foolish woman tears it down.
Come on.
You have your wise, then you'll be speaking things that will build your house. Okay? So what happens between you and him, that's different. You all can share, you all can talk. Maybe there's a space for you all to be able to be honest without attacking each other. Right? But being able to share issues and being able to talk about them, but you want to make sure that you're being wise. A wise woman builds her house, right? That's Proverbs 14. A wise woman builds. So you got to know how to build, right? Build that husband into who you want him to be, okay? Very, very important.
Let me add this as well. This is very important at the beginning of marriage. When you disagree, and you will find yourself disagreeing with different things. What I found out that because how I was raised, I took up on, the mindset of how my family structure was. Mm-hmm. Same thing with the woman. She took up on the mindset of how her family structure was. Mm-hmm. What made myself an apostle better is we realized we got to stop being what we used to be like. We had to come together and start our own relationship outside of what our fathers and our mothers taught us. We had to become friends. Let me say that again.
Yes.
You have to become friends because I have to be able to trust this woman, or you have to be able to trust that man with everything in your heart. And the failure sometimes means we're going to tell our friends, our best friends, everything, but we don't tell our own spouse.
Yes.
Come on, y'all. I'm supposed to be one with her, but yet I'm telling my best friend more than I'm telling my wife. That's the issue. And so I'm creating already a pattern of discord in my house. Mm-hmm. So when you do, even when you even when you may come to a disagreement, never leave. I found out that sometimes you can argue or be upset. Don't leave the house upset, frustrated. Something can happen. Or you can bring violation to one another where you may leave and she's been abused. She might think you're not coming, or vice versa. So even though you may disagree, stay in the house, just go to another room, and don't say, I'm going to mama's house to stay the night. No, stay home. Sleep on the couch or sleep in another room until you calm down and, y'all better hear me, and learn how to communicate better. So again, y'all hear me, y'all want real talk now, I'm talking about real issues. You want to be able to communicate and come to a place to say, you know what, we're arguing with one another, we're screaming. So calm down, walk away for a minute. It's not until you're able to come back together and say, you know what, we're going to talk reasonable. Let's talk with understanding. You tell me how you feel, and I won't respond any kind of negative way, and then I'll tell you how I feel. You got to begin to build a relationship of intimacy with one another, that now you begin to share her heart. Now listen, man, when she share her heart, don't tear her down. Let her be honest, because if I don't allow her to share what she really feel, if I like it or not, then I'm shutting her down. Same thing, women. Let him share what he feels or what he knows, because this is how you grow. Because now you're teaching me how to love you better. You're teaching me the errors that I've been doing that I thought was right that may be wrong. So if you don't share those parts of your heart one to another, then you cannot grow. Because now what you're learning is, I got to respect her. Okay, y'all. He's got to respect me. When you learn how to respect one another in your relationship, now you begin to grow, and then you can have effective communication. A lot of us can communicate, but it's not effective communication.
That's true.
Effective communication means I'm able to hear her and respond the right way. Not jump on her. Why do you not? No. That's not effective. Effective communication is good for both people, for both persons. Now, as I share my heart with one another, it'll teach us, right, to grow from that point. And that's why I love my wife. She taught me how to communicate. I didn't realize I didn't know how to communicate because I didn't understand intimacy. And that's why I said when she first taught me, listen, man, she taught me how to open my heart. I never learned that. I never learned how to open my heart to a woman. And so when she came in my life and said, what's your goals and visions and dreams? She learned how to pull on my heart that nobody taught me how to. So sometimes you may say, well, this woman getting on my nerves. No, she's pulling on a place that you never allowed somebody to pull before. So if you remember, the woman came from inside the man. So she's intimate. She's more affectionate. So allow her to help pull the layers off your heart to show you the real you. And so when you reveal the real you, it can not expose, it can reveal the real her. And now you can learn together who you are in God and one another.
Okay. So let us talk about effective communication. I know my husband can get very excited, but I want to talk about effective communication because this is very important, okay?
Right.
If you're going to have effective communication, don't always wait until it blows up.
Right.
One of the things that you can do is schedule a time weekly. Okay, schedule a time weekly to say, you know what, we're just going to talk about us. We're going to talk about, things that are positive and maybe some things that are negative, areas that we can work on. Because a lot of times you see the flaw in your spouse over a period of time, but it is after it has built up continually that you begin to explode. So if you see this pattern that you don't like, or you see something that's taken place that you would like to work on, that's where effective communication comes. You set a time. I love, one of my mentors was talking about how they used once a week, and they would go forth and just sit down at a restaurant, and they would just talk about issues that they felt needed to be addressed with one another. And they came with an open heart. See, when you're talking about building a lifelong relationship, then you're going to have an open heart. You can't be offended over everything that your spouse is telling you. You cannot be offended when they see things from a different light.
Right.
You can't always try to prove to make them believe what you believe, right? And that's very important. In effective communication, you're going to have to make sure that even when you don't believe something or you have a different viewpoint, that doesn't necessarily mean that their viewpoint may be wrong. So you have to learn how to hear both sides and then come to an agreement that will work for both parties. So that means compromise, all right? And that's the next thing that we're going to talk about. We want to talk about compromise. So in compromising, we understand that there are going to be some things that you have to give in on, and there's going to be some spaces that you're not going to always win, okay?
Right.
So whether it's something that you love and your spouse may hate, or vice versa, you're going to have to compromise, right? There may be something that your spouse loves to do and you don't necessarily like doing that. But guess what? You compromise. You sit down with them and you engage in that particular thing. Or you go with them and you engage in that particular thing. Why? Because you're compromising. It's a part of love, right? When we think of being in marriage, we know that it's a love relationship. It's a true covenant, right? It's a covenant that's been established in the earth between a man and between a woman. And so when we think about that covenant being established, we need to have effective communication if it's going to be a lifelong process.
Right.
So I want you to understand how important it is to schedule times to talk.
Right.
Don't wait till the person is tired. Sometimes it may be, time to go to bed. Now you want to start telling the person, all the things that happen. No, schedule a time to say, you know what, let's sit down at 5 o'clock, or let's go to the park. Let's go, sit at a restaurant. Let's go somewhere and just have a talk. And I want to share my heart with you, right? And then don't always assume that your spouse knows what may be on your heart, okay?
Right.
You could be frustrated, you could be upset, you could be aggravated, but you have to talk, right? Communicate. You have to talk to say, I'm displeased with this, or I love this, or I don't like this. We have to make sure that we function in the spaces so that we're able to accommodate each other, okay?
Amen.
So this is very important, because if you don't do this, your marriage is going to suffer for many years because of lack of effective communication. And so communication is major when it comes to your marriage, all right? Let's touch, I know you want to say one thing, say it briefly, and then we're going to touch finance because our time is going on. Go ahead.
The one thing I just want to say for men, because I can feel in the spirit, women or men might say, well, how do I help my person or my mate communicate better?
Mm-hmm.
One of the best tools that helped me, and I thank my wife for it, is she began to teach me about my love language.
Yes.
Love language.
Yes.
I didn't understand that because I thought that there was a particular way of what I did that would please her. It wasn't pleasing her because I didn't know her love language and I didn't know mine. And so this is why it's so important to read books, to educate yourself,
Yes.
to learn more about each other, learn
Yes.
more about, okay, I need to evaluate myself. How much am I loving her? How much am I giving? What am I doing to be better in our relationship? So
Yes.
empower yourself. Get something, read something that will help you be better as a spouse one to another.
Yes, and that's awesome. We're going to touch finance, but let me just respond to that. Gary Chapman wrote a book called The 5 Love Languages, and I read this book probably over 20-something years ago now, but I've read it multiple times because I think that we have to be educated. Remember what I said. We need to be educated to love the person the way they need to be loved.
Right.
And so you may have a perception that in my marriage, because I like a particular thing, that my spouse likes it. And can I tell you that most people give what they like, not necessarily what the other person wants. So if you are a person that wants affection, but your spouse is giving you, gifts, then, that doesn't matter. You could buy, cars and houses and refrigerators and whatever it may be, but it's not making that spouse feel loved. So you want to make sure that you speak the language that makes them feel loved. If the person wants quality time, then that means you need to invest time, just sitting with them, spending time with them, talking with them, paying attention to them. Very important, right? A lot of times we have social media now, we have phones, we have technology, we have iPads, laptops, everything, right? And so when we have those things, they can be a distraction when we're trying to share, when we're trying to connect, when we're trying to speak. And so we want to make sure that we have an understanding, and we want to make sure that we're in the proper alignment for that thing that we're supposed to function in can be better. okay?
Yes.
And so we want to make sure that you know, that's another plug. And I'm sure many of you have probably heard of Gary Chapman, but it's an awesome book as well. But I want you today to make sure you order my book, right? The Misconception of Love and Relationship. You got to do it, right? You don't want to miss this read. It's a great read. It's a quick read. It's an easy read. And it also talks about some of those love languages in this book, okay? All right, so let's talk about finance, because a lot of times as well, when you talk about marriage, this is one of the major things that cause divorce or separation is also what? Finance, okay? It is where one may be a spender, one may be a saver, or both may be a saver, both may be spenders. Arguments come, what's important, what's not. Maybe one is a big giver in ministry, when maybe one is a big shopper. Whatever the situation may be, when it comes to finance, we want to talk about this, because some people have different ways, and we're not going to give you one set way, because I believe every relationship was set up how they believe their finances should flow, right? Because maybe the woman is good or the husband is good. You don't want to just say because the husband is making all of the money or the wife is making all of the money that person should automatically, you know, cover the finance. But what you want to do is have an agreement to know in your household who is the best in the finance, okay? Who is best? You know, who's going to work with you in finance? And in order for that to happen, you have to have trust.
Amen.
Right? You have to have major trust, because a lot of people, you know, they can marry somebody but still say, when it comes to my money, you're not touching a particular thing.
Right.
And so you got to build trust even in your finances, right? To make sure that you're willing to what? Give and put everything together for you to advance or to have a great financial portfolio. So we want to talk about finance as well in your relationship and how that operates, right? So you can make sure that you are, you know, on one accord. So just talk briefly about that, maybe the accounts or just however the Lord will lead you.
Yes, I think the reason why majorly that we struggle early in our relationship is we never had a vision for our money, right? And I was from the old school where I learned from my dad, you know, the man takes care of the house, he's the provider. And it doesn't matter if the man's a provider, if you don't have a vision for your money collectively. We didn't bring our money collectively together. What we did was say, well, I'll take care of this bill, you take care of that bill, then this portion is mine, then that portion was hers. We never brought our money together to have a vision for it, to lay out a plan, to say, okay, this is what we're going to do, this is what we're going to invest, this is what we're going to give. And it can cause you not to be successful in the areas of what God is telling you. Now, let me tell you this, man. I want to say this to the men. Just because you make more money doesn't mean you have vision the way you ought to that the wife may have for you. So there's areas that God can give her to unlock you that will help benefit both of you if she's a better planner than you are, even though you make more money. Or vice versa. Woman, you could be the one that making more finances, but he might be the better planner. And this is why we must come in agreement with our monies collectively. So it doesn't matter what he makes or she makes, bring it together. Or if he works or she doesn't matter. Bring it together. Come in agreement. How can two walk together? Except they agree. And one place that we struggle early in our relationship is because we never came into agreement with our monies. We never came into agreement with our finance and have plans for it.
Yes. So that's important. I want us to talk about, you know, some things that we can address here. It's good to have a particular account where we can have a joint account together for bills, right? Then he may have a personal account, she may have a personal account. So you want to be able to come together collectively so that what? You said this is the account where everything is going to be paid out of. This is the account where we're going to save. You know, maybe this is the account for you to have, you know, stuff that you want to do, your personal items. And this is the account for him to have his personal items. So that way you're able, if you need to spend or you need to do something, it's not affecting your bills, right? It's not affecting your monthly flow of what needs to be taken care of. So you need to make sure that you have, these accounts set up for every married couple. Make sure that you have these things set up and in proper perspective and alignment, however it will work for your household. But these are just some wonderful suggestions that I think will help you along the way. So that way you don't have to go through, 10, 15 years of trying to figure it out.
Yes.
You'll, know what steps you need to take, especially for those of you that are more mature, you're getting married later, rather than earlier, then some of these things that we're saying. But those of you that are younger, you may still need to develop these areas and make sure that you implement this. Make sure you have an account that's for bills, an account that's for, savings, an account that's for, so that way you set these things up for the wife, for the husband, and you have these 4 accounts, right? Because you want to make sure that you're on the same page financially, have the same goals financially, right? Mm-hmm. If one of you wants to be, a millionaire and one wants to be a pauper, there's going to be some problems. So you have to really, make sure that financial goals are something that you're able to work on, okay, collectively as a couple. All right, and so we just have maybe about 5 to 7 minutes left here of the show. I pray that you've been just blessed today tremendously by what's been spoken, what's been released. What we're going to do, we're going to take these last few minutes to kind of wrap up just some words of what may be on our heart concerning marriage, right? We didn't touch, the sexual portion. That's in this book. Listen, no matter what's happening in your relationship, even talking about sex, right? We want to talk about that in this book because I want people to know, right? Sometimes that's, something that we don't talk about when it comes to relationships, but we're talking about it in this book. We're giving sound information, right? We're talking about every scenario that you can think of, right? From the happy side to if you're frustrated, if you're overwhelmed, if your spouse is not, satisfying you in bed. We're talking about everything in this book. You are going to be blessed tremendously. So you have to order your copy today. All right. So we're going to give just a couple minutes more. My husband is going to come back and just share with you some more views on marriage as he's talking to the men or talking to the married couples as a whole. We want him to take these last few minutes and then I'll be back to close out the show. Thank you so much for watching. And I know you've been empowered and inspired by this show today.
Amen. I just want to say, it first, men, hear me when I say this. True submission starts in the heart. When I can submit my heart to the Lord and submit my heart to my wife, then there's nothing I won't give her. Lord had to teach me. I had to go back, even though I learned some things from my father. I read some books. I had to ask the Lord, I said, Lord, teach me. Teach me how to be a man. Teach me how to be more intimate. And I was blown away not knowing that when I asked God that, he responded. And so he started teaching me. So I started listening to the Holy Spirit. There would be times that my wife and I could be doing something and the Holy Spirit said, don't do that. It's not time for you to read a book. He said, go over there and talk to your wife. So he started guiding me. And so I started talking to my wife. I put the book down. I said, okay. And I started articulating. The Lord took over my mouth that I was speaking to my wife. The next thing I know, she was crying. And I was like, wow. And the Holy Spirit spoke to me. He said, see, what your wife wants is your heart. And it blew my mind. I always was trying to do this or do that. But the Holy Spirit said she wants your heart. So the Lord started teaching me how to give my heart to my wife. Mm-hmm. How to submit my heart. When you submit your heart, you submit your will. It opened me up to now hearing her from a different perspective. So now, when she used to come to me and say, you're not hearing me, at the beginning, I should be frustrated as a man. But what I've heard, what I've learned after listening to the Holy Spirit, what she was saying, when women speak to us, they don't want you to hear them. A woman wants you to be able to feel what they say, not just hear. And when you're able to feel what they say, it makes you respond different. Mm-hmm. And so I thank God that the Lord started having me to be more effective in hearing what she was saying by feeling what she was saying. Yeah. So sometimes now I begin to move and I hug her and it began to change our relationship. I realized there was areas in my life or our relationship that I was holding her in captivity because my ability to hear was not effective. But it caused my heart to open. Do you know when you give your wife your heart and you give it to God, and she starts singing that, there's nothing that woman will not do for you. There's no place that woman will not thrive and push for you. But open your heart. Open your spirit to learn again and say, you know what? It's okay to evaluate myself. I may be a good provider, but I'm a terrible listener. I might be a good listener, but I'm not a good provider. How intimate am I when it comes to my spouse? Even though I'm married to her, am I satisfied? Am I still chasing her? Am I still dating her? Am I still taking her out and communicating effectively with her? So if you want to be effective in your relationship, I'm telling you, 32 years of marriage, you got to communicate. You got to sow into her. Not sowing is not just giving your time, but taking care of her. Bless her. Give her a flower. Give her a card. Stop waiting on her birthday. Stop waiting on Valentine's Day. Do it because it's in your heart. This year say, this man loves me because of what he's doing. Because he's not just speaking it, he's showing me. God bless you.
That's good. So when he's saying that, that's through my teaching. Thank you. So you see that I have taught well, right? I have taken the time to make a great investment, because you have to understand that what? You have to teach what you want, right? You cannot just say that you're expecting your spouse to just give something and you're not telling them what you actually need or what you actually want. So it's so important. Women, you have to do the same. You have to serve and you have to love that man. And through serving and through loving them, they will give you their heart. Through serving and through loving, right? Going above and beyond, right? So that you can't be replaceable, right? There's a place that you can serve and love a man that he couldn't replace you if he tried. Why? Because you have given a certain measure and a level unto him that no one else could match, right? So as women, you have to understand how to sow yourself, how to release yourself, how to give yourself, be vulnerable, right? Sowing yourself by what? Whether it's, giving a massage, or whether it's cooking a dinner, or going for a walk, or spending quality time, or just saying the proper words, right? Being able to appreciate them, just to say, you know what, I appreciate you today. I care about you today. I love you today. You're wonderful. Speak words of affirmation. You always want to affirm your spouse, right? If it's something that you want to change, keep affirming them so that that transformation can happen. Keep affirming them so you can see that come to pass, right? Something that you keep saying, how many know it's going to happen? If you keep praying that and you keep speaking it over a period of time with prayer and with you affirming them, that manifestation can come to pass. Amen. So I want you to know, women, listen, God wants you to rise to the next occasion, right? He wants you to get into position, right? The Bible talks about a virtuous woman, right? And her price is far above rubies. So when you think about her price being so high, that means there was a level of quality in how she served, in how she loved, in how she lived, and how she operated. There was a level in her that was operating at such a high quality that it said that her price is far above, not the price of a ruby, but far above that price. That means that the quality of what was in her, what was because of the way she sold her life. So you've got to be in position to sow yourself. If you're going to be in a real lasting lifelong relationship, I want to encourage you to do what? Sow yourself. Amen. So I believe today it's been an amazing broadcast. We want to thank God for each and every one of you that have watched us today. I told you I had treats for you all month long. And today has been an amazing time. We were able to share with you so many relationship tips, dating tips, marriage tips, and I know that you have been blessed. Listen, please make sure that you go and you like and subscribe our channel, all right? The YouTube channel is Apostle Dr. Dewan Jackson. Like and subscribe it, and then make sure you hit that notification bell so that way you'll know every time that we're going live, you will know that we are on the air. So don't just like it, don't just subscribe, don't just share it with others, but make sure you hit that notification bell. So every time we go live, you're going to be able to experience shows like this. All right. I told you 2022 is going to be awesome. So we're excited again to be able to come into your home or to your car or to wherever you're watching from. Again, this is your host, Apostle Dr. Dr. Dewan Jackson of the Deborah's Voice Show. Listen, order your copy today. The Misconception of Love and Relationships, only $15. You can cash app $15 with the $DWANYJ. You can go ahead and send your cash app, or you can, send through PayPal at WOV960@yahoo.com, or you can inbox us and let us know you want a copy. We will make sure that you get a copy today. This is available in ebook and it's also available in the hard copy. So we appreciate you and we pray that you have an awesome rest of your day.